Hello and welcome to the Fit News Podcast. I'm your host, Jen Shaver, and I have created a new fat loss grocery list just for you. You can get it today to kickstart your journey to a healthier, leaner you with simple and delicious food options. Visit Work with Jen Shaver, WorkWithJenShaver.com to grab it before your next trip to the grocery store. Now, joining me today on the Fit News Podcast is a very special guest, Ann Gilbert. She is a seasoned entrepreneur and executive. She owns Fit Her Health and Fitness for Women, where she dedicates herself to the success of her teams and members, an award-winning leader in the fitness industry, and promotes active longevity through innovative programs. She can be seen on part of the Fox 13 family in Tampa Bay and works with a multitude of events and organizations. With over 3 decades of experience helping her communities thrive in their health, Ann is a sought-after speaker and an inspirational leader. Ann, thank you so much for taking the time to join us today on the Fit News Podcast.
Oh my gosh, who wrote that bio? My
Yeah.
grandkids?
It's as
Right?
amazing as you are because you are amazing, that's for sure.
Thank you for having me today. I'm excited.
Of course. You know, you and I both work a lot with women only, and with your Fit Her Health and Fitness for Women, right? Specifically designed to help women be healthier. I know that you kind of have the motto, exercise is optional, but movement is mandatory.
I know.
And I love that because, you know, I think if more people would think of it like that, they might not skip it, right?
Yeah, I remember at 27 years old as an obese mom, having had 3 kids in 3 years, and at that time in cloth diapers, if you know how long ago that was.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
There was no way I could exercise on a regular basis. I had been an athlete in high school and college, but I couldn't fit it in. I see that, and I'm still this many years later focusing on that same subject because it's so important. Exercise gets in our way.
Right.
And it doesn't fit in our schedule on a daily basis. Not unless you're going to run a marathon and you're on a schedule with a coach that's going to, check in with you. But at that time, when I was 27, I knew I needed to move again for my sanity.
Yeah.
For my sanity. And it's interesting. And over the years, it's changed. Now, as an older active adult, I need to move because it's going to keep me moving. So over all those decades that they talk about in the bio, 40 years in the industry, it's changed, but it's the same.
Right.
So no matter who you are, we struggle, especially with women, because we divide our time and energies by giving back to so many others, family, friends, employees, whatever. Even the bio said, I dedicate my life to my team. We dedicate so much to others that we always become second, don't you think? Second best.
Right.
And now as an active ager, many of those that I'm still trained after all these years are entering a final inning, really, if you think about it. And I don't mean to sound negative or sad or anything like that.
No, it's the reality of it.
Right. It's a baseball game, and we're in the final inning, and we have had to make decisions to forego giving to everybody else and making time to give to us. So now we know that getting to an exercise class might still be optional if the grandkids are coming over, all right? Or still be optional if we have a podcast to listen to become better educators, or if the dog gets sick, or the friends and family are stopping by unannounced because they're on vacation in Florida. That's what happens for us down here. But we know that if we're going to play the game in the final inning, we have to move.
Right.
And I think it's scary for people that haven't moved, but I do use that tagline a lot. I first heard it from Lawrence Piscatini, one of my dear friends and mentors, that exercise throughout the last 40, 50 years of our chapters or our innings may have been optional. We couldn't get there. We didn't like the teacher. The teacher was too hard. The teacher was too easy. There were too many mirrors in the studio. I went the wrong way. I didn't know the choreography, whatever we used to call excuses as personal trainers.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
But they're real deep feelings that have kept people out of regular exercise programs.
Right.
And now, because it's so much more about health and wellness and longevity, it is no longer optional. It is mandatory. Otherwise, you're going to sit on the bench.
Right. Right.
So now just getting up and moving, to me, is how we train to transfer to more active longevity or a better quality of life. And everyone's talking about it. It's not new news.
Right.
As fitness professionals, though, Jen, we have to figure out the magic button that starts to get people excited about regular exercise.
Right.
And I think that's the fun factor.
Right. Well, because there is such a negative connotation with that word exercise, right? I mean, let's just go back to no pain, no gain, right? That puts a negative connotation on exercise. And so I think particularly for Gen X women in particular, when that came about, that's how they view exercise is if it's not painful, then it's not doing what it's supposed to do. And then how often are you going to want to sign up and go and do something that's putting you in pain, right? You're going to find a quote unquote excuse to not do it more often than not. So I think it's really a matter of a big mindset shift in teaching women that it's not about no pain, no gain. In fact, put that in the corner, put that in the timeout chair, put it away.
Yes.
And think about that second phrase of your sentence, movement is mandatory. And instead of calling it exercise, let's call it movement. And maybe today that movement is one thing, but tomorrow it's another thing. And maybe today there's more time for it, but tomorrow there's not as much time.
I totally agree with you 100%. During those times when we thought we had to work harder, not necessarily smarter, and we came home sore, all those types of things, I think we got into a habit of shoulding ourselves. Stay with me on this one because it's an Ann language thing, but we would point our finger and say to the mirror, I should go to the gym. I should join a gym. I should go to Jen's class. I should follow Ann on her walk. I should eat more protein. I should get better sleep. I should. And if you think about what I'm doing with my finger, it's how we were scolded as children.
Yeah.
That adds to that mindset negative that we're scolding ourselves into exercise. And I think that as coaches, you and I have had to learn, it takes practice. Instead of shooting our clients, I'd like to say to everybody, sleep more, eat more, drink more, exercise more, do more reps, do more sets, whatever, do. But it turns into a shooting game.
Right.
And then it's a shaming game. Because if you don't do what you should, then you shame yourself.
Right.
So I think that today you and I are moving away from the shooting and the shaming.
Right.
And trying to talk to people about how great they feel. For instance, that one day I got all the protein in. Just that one day.
Right.
That one day I got all the protein in. If I could just reiterate to somebody else how it felt that day and just remember the positive thought, that's how we break away from the pain versus the pleasure.
Right.
But and I think that's key, the shooting and the shaming in today's world.
Yeah, for sure. It's definitely how, and we have to think about that. How are we talking to ourselves, right? Because we have to think, well, would I talk to, my sister that way? Would I talk to a child that way?
Correct.
How are you talking to yourself? And more often than not, it's not in a positive light. It's all the shoulds, right? And
the should and the shame.
Yeah. Yeah.
So everybody starts the day with this big loser. Can I tell a quick story? I don't know.
Go for it. No.
Okay, so I'm at the desk today. I own a women's only facility. I've been involved with that same facility for 35 years. So it's fascinating. I thrive on that community that women only build. But a gal came in and she had her head down. She came walking in with her head down.
Yeah.
And I thought, oh my gosh, something's wrong. Somebody's passed or somebody's sick or some tragedy. And she goes, I need to cancel. And she wouldn't look at me. And she goes, I need to cancel my membership. And we've all seen funny things about people trying to cancel memberships. And of course, I want to say, what's wrong? What did we do? What could we do more of? But she came in feeling like such a loser because she was canceling her journey.
Yeah.
She was canceling her journey because it was no longer fitting in her schedule. That was the only reason.
Yeah.
So at that point, exercise had become optional for her. And I thought, now how can I turn this around? And I said, I looked up really smiley face and right in her eyes, and I said, you're not a canceled member. You're not a canceling member. You're an alumni. She goes, an alumni? I said, you're an alumni at Fit Her.
Yeah.
That means that you will stay with us forever. She goes, I can? When my schedule clears up, I can come back in. I said, yes.
Yeah.
You know, you never give up on your alumni. I don't know if you, I went to college at Purdue University. I still get stuff in the mail, right? I still get calls asking for donations. Every time I wear a proud Purdue Boilermaker t-shirt or sweatshirt, I'm an alumni. And when we could do that one step to make people feel like they're not a loser because they're quitting again.
Right.
Right? Oh, I shouldn't quit. I shouldn't quit again, shaming themselves and becoming a loser. We have to do everything in our power to make people feel comfortable where they're at that particular day.
Right.
Don't you think? And then she felt great. I said, you're an alumni, and you'll get texts and alumni emails. She goes, I will. And she was all excited. I just had to share that story.
No, and I think that it really encompasses all that we were just talking about, and the inclusivity, and along with the social aspect of it as well, the community aspect, I guess is what I should say, of fitness and, you know, wellness.
She had been a member about 6 or 7 times.
Yeah.
She had never been called an alumni. So each time she sat in that parking lot, the next time it was time to rejoin.
Yeah.
And probably had second thoughts about fitting it into her schedule. And we just have to change that mindset. You are 100% right with that word. And just movement is what will make her feel comfortable in her last inning, you know, getting off the bench and hitting a home run and doing what she wants to do, and having movement transfer to more advanced activities of daily living.
Right. Because
but I still see people saying more reps, more sets, stay longer, go to the limit, you know, and when I look at that, it scares me, and I like exercise. Right. You know, so we have to understand that 80% of the population in Tampa, and I don't know about your area, but Tampa, 80% of the women in Tampa are not exercising in yours or my regular traditional exercise class.
I believe it because I read a quote from the CDC that said only about 18% of women over 40 do strength training.
And the first time I went to an URSA convention, they had these stats. It was at a keynote speech, and that was like in the year 2001 was my first year there. These huge screens all around the keynotes, and they were talking about the percentage of people that exercise in our gyms at that time. It was 16. Yeah. So shame on us, fitness industry. We're only really motivating 2 more people to strength train, even though everything you read, everything you see, everything you and I talk about is lift heavy stuff for longevity. And yet, but still there's a negative connotation.
And that's, you know, just it. So we as fitness professionals need to work on our delivery, I guess, or our communication to get through and to let these people know that it really is all inclusive, and it doesn't matter where you start. You just need to get started, because if you don't start, those last few innings are not going to be fun.
Not fun. You know, recently, I know you know this because we network often together, but we stopped calling ourselves Shapes Fitness for Women. And just 2 or 3 years ago, we were really proud of the fact that we've been around Tampa for 35 years. We thought that was our legacy. Well, guess what? The legacy is where everybody quit and tried to restart and quit and tried to restart. We rebranded ourselves so that we call ourselves Fit Her. It can be strong her, balanced her, weller, leaner, smarter, motivated her. But the real thing that we do in our club now is talk about joining her and just becoming a part of atmosphere that's club-like. And we literally put all of that intimidating selectorized equipment into little pods in which you and I on opposite machines, like a push or a pull, we would have to see each other rather than lines. So people started saying, how long have you been here? I've never met you before. So we potted the equipment. That was one of the first things I'd love to talk to people about. We took down some mirrors, right? You build a gym and all you do is put up mirrors so people can make funny gruntal noises in front of the mirrors. We took some down. So that a lot of the members that didn't feel great in their own skin didn't have to see themselves in their own skin. We don't have the full length mirror in the bathroom anymore. We took it down. We don't have a scale. There's no scale in the club because it's not about the scale.
It's not necessary. We could probably go on for 2 hours on that subject.
I know that is your subject. But we do classes on the treadmills. And you know how people say, I went to the gym and all I did was do the treadmill. Now the treadmill works for you because there's music and brain power and dancing on the treadmill, and people are lined up to do that because it's an experience. And we also put in our gym a physical trainer's table. And I don't know if you know what that is. It was an investment I had to make, but it was the table that sits off the floor about this high. It's padded and it's large. It's almost the size of my studio. And we moved it into that area without mirrors, and people that could not get to the floor. Now, how many people do you know as a trainer that say, I can't get to the floor? Don't make me go to the floor. I'm not taking that class because they go to the floor, right? Anything that had a mat was another negative connotation and an excuse not to go. It made the class optional. So now we have the table, and no matter what size or exercise experience or flexibility or whether you're frail or it doesn't matter. You can sit on the table, lay back on the table. It's padded. You can do a whole exercise class with your trainer. It holds 4 people. I mean, it's the most exciting thing. And I say, what is the best thing about the rebranding? And they said, I have my own space now that I never could do anything before. So we know what the obesity ratings are in our world. And that walking through the door as someone that thought they had to get to the floor is a barrier to exercise.
Exactly.
You know? So we really have to find ways in which people can be encouraged. Another thing we did, we slowed down, although sales are very important to a profitable business, that pressure sales. Well, if you join tonight, you'll get a t-shirt, right? Or it's the end of the month. So it's the last day of the month. I got a quota to make. So I'm going to drop my pants and give you, Jen, a better price than I gave somebody else 2 weeks ago. That's gone. The high pressure sales. And if we give people 10, you can stay here for 10 minutes. And the follow-up is not pressury, not about promotion. It's about, let's talk more, because movement's mandatory. Let's find a way that you can move that will help your health status.
And I think that's what people need to understand, that if they are currently, not exercising, that they should start with, what do you enjoy? What movements do you enjoy? Maybe it is walking, maybe it's not, maybe it's swimming, maybe it's who knows what, right? And start there. And just because it's not in a gym or not considered, whatever, it's movement. So start with the movement that you enjoy. And that kind of builds the foundation, because that's building the habit of moving.
We work with the Humane Society of Tampa Bay. And we talk about this a lot. If you got a new puppy, Jen, you got a new puppy, you would feed it, you would water it, you would take it for a walk. it didn't matter whether you wanted to move or not.
Right.
You would take care of your body. And we used that theme last month as kind of a challenge for members and clients virtually and in the club. And the Humane Society is coming out next week, and they're bringing dogs not to be adopted, but to be walked.
Nice.
In our parking lot.
Yeah.
Down the street. And people are signing up and getting really excited about the fact that they're going to have a dog to walk.
Yeah.
And then we can sit down and say, instead of saying, you should walk your dog more, we'll say, what did it feel like to just move for the sake of somebody else? Having a buddy or a dog to walk is like having a buddy. I think that's a huge thing.
Yeah.
Huge thing in getting people excited about movement.
Yeah.
And we know that 10 minutes works. Mayo Clinics, the CDC teach us that it's about accumulation of dog walks, or accumulations of minutes that transfer to those advanced activities of daily living.
Right. Because we know also that time is often a barrier, right? And I think, I go back to, again, we had all the classes, the aerobic classes of the 80s, right? And they were an hour long. And so the mindset is that it has to be an hour long in order for it to count.
Correct.
So that's what many women think. Well, I don't have an hour. And so then because of that, what do? They just don't do it at all because heck, I don't have the time, right?
The time. And the people that want the hour class, bravo. They're part of the 18%.
Yeah, right.
So the fitness world still needs to give them that diehard class.
Exactly. Right.
But next door to it, maybe not in the next time slot, because that means we've given the prime slot to the hour class, but maybe next door or in the pool area, instead of a high intensity interval training, we do water walking.
Yeah.
Things that at the same time. So if I burden over you as my friend because you have not adhered and you should be doing more, I can give you something that makes you or meet you where you are.
Right.
Meet you where you are. I think that's really super important.
Well,
but you're right. These the fitness facilities, if you're going to stay active, need to have that mindset switch. Mindset.
Yeah.
From the way we pay our teachers to coaches and how we hire and train our staff. We have to train our staff to be empathetic instead of in high intensity nowadays.
Right. Right. Yeah. Because so often, again, I think it really does go back to the no pain, no gain mindset. And, the workout is the punishment for, not working out yesterday, or because I had some cake at the birthday party, or, whatever it might be, instead of looking at, like you said, how do I feel when I'm done exercising? And, how is my quality of life improving as a result of this exercise? So many women, once they start lifting weights, they're like, wow, I don't have any trouble getting up and down the stairs anymore. It's so easy. I can carry more grocery bags in from the car at once. And it's those things, I can get up and off the floor when playing with my grandkids. That's what it's about.
The other thing that came along with that era that you talk about, the no pain, no gain, I'm going to continue to talk about that for months now because you brought it up. Our picture before and after pictures.
Yes.
Remember? And I still see them, and they work great for that studio that is teaching people to go to high performance and or physique contests. Great. Yeah. It's necessary. It's part of the game. It's like buying tennies if you're a marathoner. Right. You have to have, it's part of the equipment almost. Right. But for that to be the voice of success, is the before and after picture, is a detriment to our growth. Yes. I really believe that. Yes. Because when it becomes about your physique and not, your organs, the same with food. And right. The fact that you brought up the punishment thing, we need in our facilities or our virtual groups, more support group right now. Yeah. Maybe, and less an education / support group rather than, okay, here's the timer, here's the Tabata, go. You know?
Right.
and maybe say, what questions do you have? And be there. Fitness needs to be the resource for support.
Right.
You know, because they're getting it elsewhere. They're getting it at the doctors, they're getting it, with their therapist, and they need to get it from us because we know about the body.
Right.
You know?
Right.
So, but there's still a mistrust of the trainer's going to cost a lot of money, and the trainer's going to make me sore. And I hired a trainer before and I never got results. There's all of those things that you and I, as fitness we're facilitators. We're not coaches. We're facilitators. Have to get through with them as we live in that muck, and we have to just continue to push through.
Yeah. Yeah. Because, you know, like you said, that idea of, you know, well, I've got to look like this picture. Look at these results that, you know, Susie got. I want to look like Susie. That motivation is going to wane, right? And it's also not sustainable. So it's better to look at a deeper, why are you doing this? And
better, bigger why.
And making sure that that why has something to do with your quality of life and improving the quality of life. And I think when you do that and you really take the aesthetics out of it, you know, if that's your thing, that's fine. But I really want you to re-examine, is that really what you want? Because when you get there, are you going to maintain that?
Correct.
And
there's
the
so much
of the time they
emphasis
don't.
with that attitude, that physique. It's all about staying young.
Yeah.
It's big. At 70, I talk about it more than you do. But when you start to go gray, when I started to go gray, and it took a little while, people would say, "You're letting your hair grow. You're not going to color it in," and they would get these like big eyes, and I would. There's such an emphasis in our world on staying young.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, look at all the products out there, right? I mean, good heavens, you got these young girls doing Botox. You know,
my granddaughters, my 15 and 16-year-old granddaughters. Yeah. It's popular. And I think that the emphasis needs to be, let's meet you where you are.
Right.
And let's enhance your quality of life. We're going to live longer. Medications will keep us living longer, hopefully.
Right.
But that quality of life needs to be the focus. That's the why.
Yes.
And so when working with active older adults, Jen, I can get to that why faster than you can with the 40-year-old.
Yes, you can. Because they're not there yet, and they're not really thinking about 60 and 70 and 80. You know, that's down the road. It's not going to be a problem. And I just think it's just like, and I say this all the time, and I know people are tired of me saying it, but I say, but you have a retirement account. You have a 401k, and you started investing in that when you were younger. You didn't wait until 5 years before you needed it.
Oh, that's brilliant, brilliant,
so
brilliant.
if you don't do that with your health now, when you need your health, it's not going to be there to help support you, you know? And would you rather pay for large health bills in the future because of the chronic disease that you now have? Or are you willing to pay right now to get the guidance that can help you to ward off that chronic disease?
And I think the key there, because we can jump right back into shaming, you know, oh, you should.
Right.
Is to educate. I love the word educate, is to educate them on what's happening in their body.
Right.
And if you can really get into the education and teach them that there's different we never taught joint movements to our clients 40 years ago.
Right.
We taught sets and reps. Sets and reps. How many? And I still have clients that say, how many? And I say, well, how many can you do? How many? It's always about sets and reps. And if we can teach them about what's happening with their organs, if they don't, it moves away from the scale. And and I have clients that now have written testimonials that say, Ann has taught me that it is no longer about losing pounds. It's about losing my marbles.
Yeah. And you know what?
You know, right?
Is the highest compliment right there that you can get.
Well,
because when you take that focus off the scale, and when you have done that for somebody, you did your job.
And when people walk back into the club and say, where's the scale? I'm like, well, why is it important today?
Yeah.
Do
Yeah.
you know?
Right.
Are you weighing in for the Olympics or
Right.
something?
Right.
Then it's important,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. Unless you have a
Yeah.
wrestling match that I don't know about.
Yeah, that you're in something. I don't know, but I think that that's a thing that was a big mindset change for me about 4 years ago, because when we closed my club and I went out of business in one club right away, and we had two clubs during when we hit COVID.
Yeah.
I lost a club, which is, you know, life changing,
Right.
you know, in itself.
Yeah.
I did something called Dare to Chair. And I that's my t-shirt says I dare to chair. And I actually came to grips with the fact that putting people on a chair that had no other piece of equipment at home, or only were used to the aquatic environment and missed their pool, because the people in Tampa, when we closed for COVID, they took to the streets. It was March. It's the most beautiful weather in the world, right? They bought every single bike, every single pair of rollerblades. They put their garage in their gym in their garage in 12 hours or so. And they went virtual with you and I.
Yeah.
But the aquatics students were devastated.
Yeah.
And they went from 6,000 steps a day down to 1,100. They had nothing to do. And so I said, as a trainer, I always thought it was a negative or a regression or a modification to use a chair. And I took this step as a trainer, and it changed my whole mindset in really working with inactive people as much as active people.
Right.
And I dared a chair. And I put that program, 2 or 3 regular programs, and the creator of Seat.
Right.
Supported exercise for ageless training, but the chair became an essential piece that made people feel comfortable.
Yep.
And I see it still in a growth mode. And I think that instructors need to just say, I dare to chair you. I'm going to put you on a chair, because it's not about working with our regulars anymore.
Right.
It's about working with our non-regulars.
Yeah.
And when I used to say as a tagline, I work with older active adults, now I work with older inactive adults.
Yeah.
Right. Do you know, because those are the people who aren't exercising regularly, who now have to understand that movement will keep them having a healthier final inning.
Right. Right.
You know?
And that's the goal, right? We want that final inning to, not be spent in the corner, right?
On the bench.
Right.
Yeah. Right. You want to be in the dugout warming up for the pitch. Do you know you want to be the next person in line for the for the event or the vacation? Like you said, they have a 401k. They put their money away for retirement so they could travel. I hear that all the time with my friends.
Yes.
Well, I can't wait to retire so I can travel. So what do I do now? Because I'm unable to walk when I travel.
Right.
And they're very dramatic, and the whys are very much deep set heart, in their heart, and much stronger. Yeah. I don't know. Do you agree with me? I mean, how do we get the word out?
I completely agree with you that fitness is about your health and longevity and not about the scale. And we need to scream that from the rooftops, and for the ladies in the back who, who are still dead set, because I think it's just such a part of our society that, we need this number on the scale. And you and I, neither one of us are advocating for anybody to be overweight. I mean, that's not what we are saying.
Correct.
We're just saying that when the focus is on a metric that can change dramatically day to day, it's time to focus on something else.
Yeah. And you know what? When you're talking to people, you've got to get them smiling.
Yeah.
And that's why I use the example of the dog, the puppy. Yeah. So all the older active adults, they get a puppy, their last puppy, and I say things like, are you going to raise that puppy without water? Yeah. Are you going to raise that puppy without food? Are you never going to take that puppy for a walk? Are you going to let that puppy get obese?
Right.
Are you going to leave the puppy behind because it's too big to move? And they say, oh, Ann, you're so silly. And then they go, And their eyes get big, and they can relate to things. If we could be better coaches and take it away from, like you said, scale, physique, and sets and reps.
Right. Yeah. So
And
let's
harder's
ditch the
better.
scale. Let's ditch the before and after photos. And let's just talk about feeling better, right? And aging successfully.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
Wow. Well, Ann, if our listeners want to find you and more information about you, where can they find you?
Okay. I'm active on Facebook.
Okay.
And you can find me at Ann D period Gilbert.
Okay.
And Instagram, Ann D Gilbert. I have a new evolving website.
Okay.
ANNGILBERT.net.
Okay.
And podcasts like this, and reach out to me at Facebook private or direct message if they have any questions.
Okay.
And I do offer 15-minute consultations, which usually turn into like you and I talking for an hour and a half or so. But when you get people excited about, so I try to use my social media right now as a way to inspire and excite you. And I also share how I'm aging, so people have someone to relate to at 71.
Yeah. Yes. Well, when I grow up, I want to be like Ann. So
whatever.
Well, thank you so much, Ann, for taking the time to join us today.
Thank you for having me. Please invite me again.
Of course. And thank you for listening to the Fit News podcast. We will catch you next time.